I'm Osa.
And I'm Kyra.
Today we are going to be talking about The Last of Us episode 2. We'll be recapping that. We said that we wanted to do this every week, and well, we made it to week 2, so clearly we're doing it.
This episode was so intense. Oh my gosh, so much going on. We're just learning more about the Cordyceps fungus virus. We're getting more into Joel and Ellie's story and Tess as well. Seeing some clickers in here.
It's dangerous out there. And we already know that the fungus started in Jakarta, Indonesia, and then bam, like that's exactly where we are at the beginning of episode 2. Obviously this part isn't in the game, but this is a TV show, so they get to expand on this world like in ways that they weren't able to when they first made the game.
A lot of the video game people that are tuning into the show, we kind of already know everything that's going to happen roughly, right? So to get this new backstory, this new information, stuff they're putting in is like really exciting for us just because it just builds more to the story. It's nothing too outrageously new. It just perfectly fits in. They really did a good job.
The cutest woman in the entire world that they casted.
Felt like she was my abuela. I was just like, oh my God, you're bothering her on her lunch? Y'all are rude. It's all dramatic.
A little salad by herself.
Such a little old lady meal. They were out of flour milk.
There was an intense problem at the factory. A lot of attacks.
There's 14 people missing as of now.
Crazy.
Yikes, because that's how it starts. You lose track of them. Like, this is very factual, present day information. Jakarta does have the biggest like flour grain distributor in the world, which is kind of scary just because this feels like it could happen, you know. So basically this little cute old lady, she's a badass, she's a scientist, she's a professor. She goes and examines this body that was like infected and bit. She sees that like it's still in there. She gets closer to the mouth and she's like reaching in there with like her scissors cutting something. She cuts off like some of the little threads, the tendrils. That's a part of the fungus that are alive that will get into you and take over your body. That was disgusting. She confirms a couple of the details with the cop, asking about what happened at the flour mill, how many people are missing, do they know who bit the person? They don't really know that, and she's like, oh shit, this is not good. She's like, the only solution to it is a bomb. Bombing the whole city, you know, just stopping it in its tracks.
We all know, like, with the way that travel is, like, everything spreads so quickly. Obviously with, like, COVID, like, it came from China so quickly.
Anyways, Ellie is now with Tess and Joel, and they are out of the QZ zone, so they're just out here in the mix now. They got to be really careful.
Danger zone.
Yeah, the danger zone. Ellie's expecting like all of these clickers to just come running because she's heard all these stories and she's never been out of the zone. So she's like, oh my God, cute.
No idea what's gonna happen.
She's just this little kid. She's this 14-year-old kid asking kind of dumb questions, but just very logical in her sense because she's never really experienced it like Joel and Tess have.
And she's right about some shit.
Yeah, she sure is. It was cute to see her personality develop a little more. We got to hear more from her. She is just a kid. She's very silly. She's very witty, very smart. And her and Joel and Tess have this really sometimes awkward chemistry between her and Joel still. It hasn't really developed yet. But her and Tess, you know,
They really got along quick.
Yeah.
The chemistry was there for them.
So they do confirm right away that Ellie is
immune.
Yeah, so she could have the cure potentially for like a vaccine or something. They talk about how the, you know, that meeting point is further going to get her to a firefly base full of doctors and scientists who are trying to make a vaccine. So that's kind of the end goal here. And Tess immediately, and you can tell, is just like, okay, we need to do this. We need to get this girl safe. Joel's still on the fence. He's just more in fight or flight survive mode. Like, he just cares about himself.
Yeah, he's like, this isn't really, like, my problem.
Yeah. Even though he really wants to find Tommy.
Yeah, but then he's like, no, we could, like, find another way to find him. This is the way, dude.
Come on.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Your own words, sir.
Different show, same vibe. Like, come on. It's really cool during this scene when they're first walking out because we get to see Boston and how ravaged it is, which is very exactly what the game did. All of the buildings are just overgrown with like evergreen all over them and like all the vines and stuff. Kind of can see where the cities were bombed. So we do find out bombs were thrown all over the world. All the major cities got bombed basically when this started happening. Some of the major cities, the bombs did help, like Boston. Boston was able to get it under control. A lot of them weren't though. It didn't really make a difference. So Ellie, Tess, and Joel end up in this hotel that's like full of this like really gross water that they have to walk through. Find out Ellie can't really swim that well. They basically go through this hotel and they just see all of these infected people. We learn that the bigger fungus is like after they reach that like final altered state, they're underground. If you step on just like a little part of it, it's gonna wake everybody up no matter if they're close to you or not. And then they'll all come after you. You really have to just be careful everywhere you're stepping. And this kind of was developed for the TV show. It wasn't really a thing in the game. It was just mostly spores. It was kind of a cool, I think, addition. We can't go this route. There's like literally hundreds of infected right in front of us. So now they have to go through this dingy, dark museum. So this is the first place we meet our clickers close up, and we kind of have to, it's very much like the video game where you're sneaking around. You have your flashlights, like you're just trying to like get past them. Maybe they don't notice you. If they notice you, all hell breaks loose. All the other clickers around will hear, and then they start chasing you, and you have split seconds to decide what you're gonna do. Tess ends up spraining her ankle.
No, that's a bad sign, because
Right.
she sprained their ankle in episode 1.
Joel's like,
Sign 1.
I ain't carrying you. It's like Zombieland rule number 1, cardio. They end up being okay. They end up crossing on the little boards between the museum and another place. Which is very reminiscent of the video game as well, which is really cool to see that. But we do start having these little moments with Joel and Ellie. Tess is pushing Joel to get closer to Ellie. He obviously wants something to do with her. He doesn't even want to be there. There's this scene where they're staring out at the Capitol and Boston and everything. That's exactly picture for picture from the video game, which is really cool. It's like Joel is holding back a little bit, obviously because of what happened with Sarah. So they finally get to the meeting place. This is where they're supposed to leave Ellie to the other fireflies, and they're gonna take her off. And they're all fucking dead. They're infected, actually. So they got about a couple minutes before they start waking up.
So horrible. Like, your stomach just, like, drops.
Like, you gotta make a split-second decision. You don't have time. Unfortunately, we do find out that Tess is infected while they're in this meeting spot. She has like a whole nasty bite going on here. We do know that Tess and Joel are not like the best of people. Done, you know, some shit to survive in this past 20 years. Tess obviously realizes she's at the end of her line right now.
Yeah.
Not really much more for her to do, but if she can do one thing, she's going to push for Joel to get Ellie all the way to where she needs to be. Tess says, you know, Joel, please take her. Like, just do this for me. Reluctantly, he's like, okay. They step on one of the little tendril spore things on the floor, and it wakes up all of the infected.
We saw how many were there
There were
already.
so many. So then basically Tess is like, I'm gonna stop him. She throws like a bunch of like lighter fluid, whatever. Joel literally has to drag Ellie away because she's like, no, we can't leave her. We can't leave her.
And she's like, I don't want to go with fucking you. You suck. You've been mean to me this whole time.
So all the clickers start running in, and you just see Tess standing there like shaking because she's freaking out. She's trying to like light the lighter, and she can't get it. One of the clickers, they all run by her, but one of them notices her and like slowly walks up to her.
We really had a thing before.
They definitely, like,
because,
she knew.
They knew each other.
The half side of his face that was still there definitely struck a memory.
He was like, I'm gonna make out with this girl. She like opened her mouth.
Little thing just came out of his mouth and like walked into him. It was just
Yeah.
gross. But she got the lighter lit so that everybody died. Well, most of them probably died. R.I.P. Tess. What a way to go out. That's the end of the episode. We see Joel and Ellie look back. Joel's like, doesn't even say anything, just turns around and starts walking. And Ellie's just gonna follow him. Thus starts the actual Joel and Ellie little mission we're gonna have now, which is the bulk of the game. Joel and Ellie, they don't seem like they have a lot of common now, but once they start talking and everything, we've seen that they both have lost a lot of people that they love. They did both just lose Tess. Ellie kind of lost Marlene. Marlene had to stay behind. That's the only person that's really been consistent in her life. Pretty sad stuff.
For next week, we're gonna meet Frank and Bill. I think that they are going to, it's gonna be a heavy Frank and Bill like origin story episode.
I think we'll get like some Joel and Ellie like walking there, talking, more of developing of their relationship.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see that perspective of like a doomsday prepper, what they would be like 20 years after this virus hit. And it's going to be Nick Offerman, who is great. I can't wait to watch him in action. Did you like this week's episode of The Last of Us? It was so much fun. Let us know in the comments what your favorite part was. Are you excited for next week's episode? We will be doing our weekly recaps that we'll be having out a couple days after each episode.
Thank you for watching.